Hello and welcome. I'm Emily Peet-Lukes, and this is Appfire Presents, the best work management show by Appfire. I'm here today with Monte Montoya, where we'll be talking about Cprime's licensing team reducing ticket backlog by 50%. So stick around, and we'll be right back with 10 minutes of expert advice.
Appfire Presents, the best work management show by Appfire.
Hey, Monte, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Emily.
Great to have you. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. A little bit about me. I'm currently the VP of Partnerships at Cprime. If you don't know about Cprime, we're one of the largest platinum solution partners in the Atlassian ecosystem. Excited to be here. I think today, though, we will be discussing, a topic today. And at that time, I was serving as the VP of Product, and our customer and use case was our internal licensing team.
That's awesome. So, Monte, tell us, what big problem did the licensing team have, and why were they reaching out to you for help?
Yeah, if I take it back to 2019, it was all around our license quoting process. Our licensing team, it was a highly manual effort. It consisted of 5 different tools. All of them were being used to create, quote, and close a deal. And it was just very cumbersome. I mean, the licensing team, in order to keep up with growing demand, manage renewals, create new business, they were struggling. And there was a lot of just manual, duplicate, repetitive work. And so they reached out to my team at the time, who was using PowerScripts. We had a bunch of PowerScripts script automation engineers, and they looked to us to leverage a solution for them. And it ended up working out really, really well.
That's great. What was the point where you realized you needed to automate your processes, and what challenges were you facing at that time?
Yeah, to be specific, there are kind of 3 areas: people, process, and the technology piece. On the people side, the big issue that the licensing team had at the time was just they were very reactive, and it was a very tactical oriented state of work. And so, we were asking them for requirements, and what they came back to us was they were spending a lot of their time, almost 40% of their time, working on creating quotes on the front end of the process. And so that was kind of, first initial checkbox, like we gotta find a fix to that. Secondly, we started to hone in on the process, and what we found was, it was really manual and time consuming. And to be specific, it was, that quoting process could take anywhere from an hour per deal, and if it was more complex, up to 4 hours. And, you start talking large deals, now the hours start racking up pretty quickly. And so that started to sort of hint towards, how do we automate some of this stuff? How do we integrate it all together? And then the final bit was technology. And really what it was there was just 4 to 5 different tools at the time being used, and logging in, logging out, context switching, none of it talking to each other. What we found was there just was this disconnected tooling and duplicate effort in multiple tools. And that was leading to a lot of the hours racking up. And so, we needed to somehow take all 5 of those and either make them work together or simplify some of that stuff as we simplified the process, and as we simplified the people effort around it. So
yeah, makes sense. A lot of time, a lot of tools, nothing talking to each other. It's taken up a lot of energy. And so as the team was realizing their bottlenecks, was it difficult to get buy-in from the top to create a business case for this?
No, right? I mean, I think the one of the realities became, it's all about revenue and revenue growth. And we saw that if we could increase that throughput, that's the direct result of what we would get from a business case perspective. And so, if we could improve it, then we knew that what the value meant to us in the form of dollars and growth. And so, there were kind of 3 areas that we looked at. It was like we had to free up time, and that meant like we got to reduce tactical work. We got to stop, manual time spent creating quotes and opportunities, and instead just free up that time so that the team could basically spend more of their time on the strategic aspects of the business, like revenue growth, upselling, proactive renewals, things of that nature. And then we started to look at, leveraging automation and integration using PowerScripts to automate as much of that process as we could. And what we found was, it stopped them from having to do it in Excel and spreadsheets and all of that fun stuff. And then it just bought a lot of our team time back. And so then they could just really focus on, revenue, procurement. And that was really where we started to hit home. And then the final bit that was aspirational at the time that we knew we needed to get to was reporting. Obviously, if we could get better data, it would drive better decision making. And so, things like visibility into DC customers or margins for the 500 user license tier, those were all things that we could get. Took a long time to get, and we thought that was a quick solve with the Power Apps family and PowerScripts specifically.
Wow. Yeah, I hear you. Okay. So tell us, what have you and the team implemented to achieve these amazing goals?
Yeah. I mean, Ingrid, was a huge advocate, and Tim Raking, and just got a ton of accolades from the solution that he implemented. And it started with implementing an automated license management solution. And what that meant was helping the licensing team achieve common repetitive workflows across, quote generation, quote renewal, upgrade, downgrade, upsell, cross-sell, all these activities related to license management. And then it was integrating it together and translating all that data to process it across Atlassian system, Salesforce, and our internal platform, Jira Service Desk. And that was really bringing all that together. It needed an automated solution, and PowerScripts really was that kind of workflow toolbox that helped us, set this in motion. And what we found were there were probably, specific things like, now we could see all licensing data blended together with all of our other services opportunities in Salesforce. We were able to sort of start thinking about tracking proactively end dates and renewals, in more of a strategic fashion rather than being reactive. And so the pendulum started to shift, focusing on more of that upside and growth. And then, just integration, being able to just talk to these different systems, being able to leverage PowerScripts to pull in fields, subfields, push data left and right across the systems. You do it once, it's a part of your workflow. And we started to find that it was all about the workflow. That workflow now really brought together customer, sales, procurement. And then, all the bells and whistles we saw were like automating smart notifications, automated actions that prompt users. And I think now it's still working really well, still a big driver and contributing to our growth, but actively getting enhanced. So
that's awesome. So all the things you needed plus some bells and whistles. I mean, that sounds really great. Okay. So now that you've implemented this, what results are you seeing in this solution?
Yeah. I mean, revenue. I mean, it was all about revenue. It was like, how do we increase throughput and get moving much faster to gain ground? Otherwise you would need an army of people to satisfy some of these these requests. And so it was really an increase in revenue. I mean, we looked at the numbers, and it was a 61% increase in revenue after that first year of installing that solution. And it continues to just drive exponential growth for us. I mean, now if you average, this problem came to us in 2019, now we're several years in, it's been a sole contributor to 50% plus growth year over year if we average it all out and smooth it. The second is just reducing WIP. I mean, we all have too much of it. Everybody's on meetings. Everybody has a ton of work to be doing. Really getting us an ability to streamline ticket backlogs, chop down all the tickets, automate the stuff that we could automate. It just, what we saw when we looked at the numbers, it was a 55% increase in productivity by decreasing WIP. And all of that couldn't have been possible without, leveraging script automation and integration to help us just cut out the noise, push it all back, and just get a standardized workflow where we can run fast. And finally, just efficiency. I mean, the workflow, because of automation and integration, just boosted that efficiency of that team. And, we went from maybe taking an hour, as I mentioned earlier, per quote, to now 4 to 5 minutes. And that's significant because, it was the upper 90 percentiles of increases in throughput from just a process efficiency. I mean, those same people, without having to scale their team exponentially, can now take on way more of those kind of, use cases and licensing requests and do it, at scale. And so that was just can't tout the benefits enough. And it's just so much value that it's provided to our team. And it's one of the reasons I consistently say that we're, leading in the space. So.
Yeah. Wow, Monty. I've got to say those numbers are so impressive. And, this use case you're sharing with us is just fascinating. So can you break down some of the key points for us as we went over this great conversation?
Sure. Yeah. Look, I mean, in summary, it's, in order to unlock more efficiency, you got to reduce WIP, stop doing a bunch of manual busy work. In order to boost productivity, you got to use automation. You got to leverage, automation to stop doing that repetitive work. And then it frees you up to focus on all that strategic work that you should be doing. And then finally, just how does all this ensure that you're getting business results? And I think that's really where it has to move the needle. And so you have to be able to tie it back to ROI and profitability. And, every use case we see is leveraging some form of automation or integration to let them go faster. And this is a great use case for us.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for joining us today, Monty. This has been Appfire Presents, the best work management show by Appfire. We'll see you again next time.